Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Fall 2012 University Address. Now gives me great pleasure to introduce our president. I think we're all familiar with his extraordinary career at Ford Motor Company, on boards with various businesses in the community, and now at Wayne State University. And in a little more than 2 years, President Gilmour has made a profound difference at Wayne State as a thinker, as a doer, as a leader, and as an inspiration. Personally, it's been a joy to work with him, and I hope that his third try at retirement is as unsuccessful as the first two. And with that, please let me introduce the 11th president of Wayne State University, Allan Gilmour.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. I couldn't hear back there, so I don't know what he said, which may be just as well. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to those who are seeing this streaming, if that's the right word. And this will be put on some sort of a high-tech thing here in a day or two, and you can all watch, I know, late in the evening. This will be very beneficial. You'll be able to save on medications and things like that. Before we get started formally, I want to introduce Eugene Draker, a member of our board who is here. Eugene, thank you for coming. Eugene has been a pillar of support since I've had this job, and I appreciate it very much. So thank you for being here today. Appreciate it. And thank you all for the personal support, your notes and thoughts and letters as I faced cancer since the 1st of February or so. I'm happy to report that the tests show that I am completely cancer-free. I do have some side effects from continuing medication, sort of dopey and sleepy. A number of colleagues said, I didn't see a change. They have different jobs now. On August 30th, I celebrated my 2nd anniversary as president of Wayne State. If we had done better planning, we'd have had the day off, but we didn't. But I reflected on that, and I realized how fortunate I have been to be selected by our Board of Governors, and how fortunate I have been to have their support, and how fortunate I am to work with all of you, to work at Wayne State University. Today I'll share some highlights of what's been an extraordinary year this past year. I believe they demonstrate that we continue to move ahead to get things done. I'm glad to be a part of it, grateful for this opportunity. It's a highlight of my career. So thank you to our board, and thanks to all of you for your hard work and your support. Time passes quickly, even more quickly I've learned when you're a university president. There's never much time to slow down, but every now and then, among the traditions of higher education, we give ourselves a moment to pause, to assess where we've been, what we've done, where we're going. It's been a very full year. We worked hard, we completed some difficult tasks, we started others, we disagreed, we've come together, we've accomplished much, and we have more to do, of course. But we've continued, despite difficulty or uncertainty or frustration, to move ahead. So in the spirit of the tradition, let's stop for a moment to celebrate all we accomplished over the past year. It's fitting to start the achievements, because our faculty serve the most important purpose on this campus, the discovery and sharing of knowledge for the sake of our students and the future of the world. Our well-deserved reputation is the result of the hard work and creativity from the men and women of our faculty. Thank you all. You may have seen posters around our campus and in our elevators, the ones entitled Professors Who Do. I call them the elevator people. That's not a sign of disrespect, only a sign that I'm on the 4th floor. I'd be delighted to have my picture there. These posters celebrate the many faculty members who are experts in their field and champions in their classrooms. They're thinkers, mentors, pioneers. And they do all that here at Wayne State. Here are some of our professors who do. Barbara Leroy, director of the Development Disabilities Institute, received a 5-year, $2.7 million core grant for Wayne State to be a center for excellence in developmental disabilities. Assistant Professor Karen List of pharmacology received a 5-year, $1.6 million research grant from the National Cancer Institute or the National Institutes of Health to study breast cancer development and progression. Yizhong Young, assistant professor of molecular medicine and genetics, received a $1.7 million grant to explore how molecular elements in the body regulate the development of certain types of liver disease. We're honored that 2 Wayne State professors, Robert Haar and Paul Karchin, from the Department of Physics and Astronomy, participated in the discovery of the Higgs boson particle. Some have called the Higgs boson the God particle. Both the physics and the religion are beyond my comprehension, but what I do know is that our faculty were part of one of the most important discoveries in modern-day physics. You will soon see their pictures on posters around campus, 2 more of our many professors who do. Some of our professors have been recently honored by their peers. Wen Lee, assistant professor of chemistry, received a Presidential Early Career Award, and that was from the real president, the one in Washington, not this one. What an honor. John Corvino, associate professor, and chair of the Department of Philosophy, was recognized as a Distinguished Professor of the Year by the President's Council of the State Universities of Michigan. 4 people are recognized each year, and John was one of those this past year. Professor Geraldine Stevens from the College of Education received the Blackboard Catalyst Award for exemplary course design. Margaret Campbell, associate professor in the College of Nursing, received the Flame of Excellence Award. Professor Howard Matthew in chemical engineering was elected to the College of Fellows of the American Institute for Medical and Biological Engineering. Linda Hazlitt, distinguished professor and chair of anatomy and cell biology at the School of Medicine, received a 2012 Alcon Research Award for her outstanding contributions in the field of vision research. And ESPN Sports Science, a TV series featuring Professor Cynthia Burr from Biomedical Engineering, won a Sports Emmy. These honors are well-deserved, and we are honored that these professors are part of Wayne State University. Even as we celebrate these great people and achievements, it's fitting to remember that we remember some who are no longer with us. Last week, we lost a beloved member of the Wayne State community with the passing of Ben Burns, director of the journalism program in the College of Fine Performing and Communication Arts. Ben's accomplishments are almost too numerous to mention. He had a remarkable career as an editor and journalist, working for the Detroit News and become executive editor of that paper, and in other papers as well. He pushed hard, and he succeeded in creating opportunities to increase diversity in journalism. But I think Ben will be most remembered as a teacher and mentor to hundreds of graduates and journalists, some of whom I heard from recently, who spoke of Ben with admiration and fondness as a true Wayne State legend. We also remember Dr. Jerome Horwitz, a world-renowned cancer center, and a member of our medical school and the Barbara Ann Kermanos Cancer Institute. Dr. Horwitz's work in cancer research led to the discovery of AZT, which was a critical breakthrough in the treatment of HIV and AIDS. If he'd done only this, it would have been enough. But Dr. Horwitz had a long and productive career in many areas of medical research, and the world is better off for his work and dedication. Though not a professor, Steve Hauser, a captain in our police department, served Wayne State in the community with distinction for 42 years. We'll miss Steve's contributions and his leadership. A few weeks ago, we submitted our proposal to retain the Parentology Research Branch of the National Institutes of Health. We, of course, hope to retain the PRB right here at Wayne State. Many people in Michigan and Washington, people like the governor, our congressmen and congresswomen, our senators, have given their support to this important project. Because the PRB has done great science, that is improving the health of infants and mothers and saving lives. Not all of our accomplishments happened in the classrooms and labs. This past year, we agreed upon new admissions guidelines to ensure the students we admit will have every chance of success. Wayne State will remain a university of opportunity, but opportunity does not mean open access. Opportunity must mean our doors are wide open for students with the will and the aptitude to succeed, even if their educational backgrounds are not all that they should be. Developing the new admissions guidelines was not an easy task. It was hard work, but it was the right thing to do. I've reported on this in the past, but the Huron Consulting Group completed their assessment of our operations. Their analysis covered a wide range of university services. We continue the process of implementing their recommendations with the goals of increasing our efficiency and effectiveness, saving millions of dollars a year, and helping Wayne State become more student-friendly. On a completely different subject, athletics. Our Wayne State Warriors gave us a lot to cheer about over the past year. The football team was a Cinderella story. We made it to the NCAA Division II National Championship for the first time in school history. Coach Winters was recognized as the 2012 American Football Coaches Association Coach of the Year. And we will ignore, for the purposes of the record, the fact that we lost Saturday night. But remember, this is only the beginning of the season, and the first game at home will be this Saturday, right across the lodge. In May, the women's swimming and diving team won the NCAA Division II National Championship for the first time in program history. And the men's team captured the 7th Conference Championship in the last decade. And I love to tell this story because in the fall 2011, 60% of our student athletes had a GPA of 3.0 or higher. Our athletic department recognizes the priority wording in the phrase student athlete because the word student always comes first. And our student athletes also contributed more than 7,400 hours of community service, more than all the other schools in our conference combined. We have other Wayne State news to share. Wayne Raskin is the new dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. He comes to us, he did come, I guess, already, from Arizona State University where for the past 3 years he was director of the School of Mathematical and Statistical Sciences. And we're delighted to have Dean Wayne Raskin's leadership in our largest college. Welcome, Wayne. Cheryl Waits is our new dean at the School of Social Work. Dean Waits joined the school in 2007 as an associate professor and associate dean for academic affairs. She is a Hartford Geriatric Social Work faculty scholar, and among other things, she conducts research into healthy aging, and she and I will have a conference shortly. Our most recent dean addition is Ambika Mathur, the interim dean of the graduate school. She joined Wayne State in 2003. She continues to serve as academic director of the MD PhD program in the School of Medicine and academic director of the postdoctoral office. She's also associate director of the Institute of Medical Education, where she co-directs the Pediatric Global Health Graduate Certificate. So she didn't have enough to do, so she's added dean to her responsibilities. Corrine Webb is our new Associate Vice President for Enrollment Management. Corrine comes to us from the Higher Education Compact of Greater Cleveland, and previously she was in charge of enrollment services at Cleveland State and at Rutgers. She brings just the right experience for her new job here. Wayne State continues to play a leadership role in the development of Midtown, both on and off campus. By now, you've all seen the impressive SCOP chemistry building addition, which you can spot from Cass if you look carefully. And less than a year ago, the Damon Keith Center for Civil Rights opened its doors at the law school. And next month, we'll be celebrating the official groundbreaking for the multidisciplinary biomedical research building known as MBRB. It will be the major center for biomedical research in our region. And when complete, it'll be the largest construction project that this university has ever undertaken. I must mention one other construction project because of personal interest, if nothing else. It's small in comparison. But in the spirit of having this campus be all that it can be, in maintaining it and making it as good looking as it can be, we're in the process of restoring the reflecting pool outside the McGregor Center. The project will return the pool back to its original design, created by the architect Yamasaki. In some ways, I feel this project is a metaphor for much of what we have to do: rediscover the best of our past and remake it for the future. Beyond our campus, we have new shops and restaurants and the continued successful Live Midtown program to increase residency in Midtown. It's certainly working. Midtown's rental occupancy is 95%. That is success. And all of these are signs of Midtown's growth and potential and signs of Wayne State's leadership. We've accomplished much. We're making good progress in many areas, and we should be proud. I'd like to emphasize that point. We should be proud of what we've accomplished. The other day, I shared much of this same information at a meeting of the Academic Senate. And the president of the faculty union described it as a feel-good speech. I don't think he meant that as a compliment, but I'm going to take it that way because I do feel good. We should feel good because we're getting things done. We're moving ahead. We're accomplishing things. We're making this a better university. But there are some who want to change, who take a narrower view based on problems, based on personal or local interests or past issues. Do we have problems? Yes. There'll always be problems. Do we have more to do? Yes, we have more to do. There are the ongoing challenges of running this university with which we are all familiar, working to grow our enrollment, our primary source of revenue, keeping the pressure on to improve retention. We can't let up on that for a moment. We must continue working, keep working to ensure our academic offerings are excellent and our student services likewise. We have building projects to finish and start and reflecting pools to fill. We have labs to update and people to hire and football championships to win. We have to conclude our contract negotiations. This has been a busy year for collective bargaining. Earlier this summer, we concluded contract negotiations with the Union of Part-Time Faculty and with the Professional and Administrative Union. Both contracts have been ratified by their respective memberships. We have nearly finalized a new 3-year contract with the GEOC, which represents graduate teaching assistants and graduate student assistants. We'll soon begin contract negotiations with the trades, with AFSCME, and with the supervising engineers. And of course, the negotiations getting the most attention are the AAUP negotiations. We're making progress, despite other things you may have heard. Please stay calm. I'm optimistic we'll have an agreement soon that will serve the university and all of its constituents. But if we look even further ahead, we're working with the board, and I should say to Eugene, and soon we'll be working with the board because some of the stuff I'm going to say today, the board hasn't heard hiding a hair off, to use the old country saying, on a number of strategic projects that bode well for the future, I think. Let me start with a couple that aren't even in the script. We're going to expand the Veterans Center because we've outgrown it. Isn't it important for this university to do its darndest to reach out to people who are coming out of military service and to provide everything we can to make them successful here at Wayne State for the ones that select Wayne State, and we want more to select Wayne State. Is this a big project? No, it's a middle-sized project, but it's important. We're expanding the counseling center, mandatory in these times where the pace of society, the pace of change makes so many people uneasy about how they fit into a university or how their personal lives are going. Just two things that come to mind because we will be talking about them more. I think we will be introducing a new undergraduate program in public health because I think the demand is there. My view, which I've had for many years, is that public health as a concept, as a profession, has been underrated in America. And we need to see what we can do to help on that. Let me go now to a big one, which will certainly get the board's attention. We have just updated the master plan for our campus, the infrastructure, the facilities, the buildings and grounds. Rick Nork and Hillary Ratner and their teams did an excellent analysis based on input from many members of the faculty and administration. And you ask, why was Hillary involved? Hillary was involved because I wanted to be sure, as she did, and Rick did, and the rest of us did, that we had the best of scientific facilities, the best of research facilities going forward. Now, that doesn't mean everything will be brand new and modern by Columbus Day, but it does mean that we have a plan, and we're starting to think about how we may execute that plan and what priorities we will set and so forth. Now, we don't have enough money to do everything we'd like. That's one of the clear things here. So we're discussing the possibility of borrowing in the neighborhood of $100 million to facilitate the projects we have prioritized, and they will help transform the campus. And thinking of money reminds me of the development area. It's had an overhaul, and it's going to continue to have an overhaul. Nothing wrong with what they did before. But the conclusion is that we have to spend roughly 50% per year more than we have been spending in order to carry out the tasks that we need in development. We've hired some very talented people and added them to the team recently. This is in preparation for the capital campaign, the one I announced the first day I was here, because I was able to add 150 or subtract it or something like this to 1868 and conclude that met 2018. And so our capital campaign will conclude in 2018, come hell or high water. When will it start, many of you ask? And all you do is talk. That's because we're in the silent phase. And some say, well, you're not very silent about it. That is true. But we've got to put in place, before we start with all arms waving and blank checks, we've got to put in place the structure of an organization and people, the reporting responsibilities, and we've got to work on the themes of this capital campaign. And it is not, and I hesitate to this, and we may have some people leave, it is not the sum of what all deans want, because God alone doesn't have that much money. But we will be working with a new committee to assess the various needs and assess themes for the campaign as to what we should focus on. We can't focus on everything, or we'll focus on nothing, but we can focus on big themes for this university, and we'll be doing that work in the next few months. And we'll be asking many of you to be involved in the planning and the asking as we progress over the next few years. Different subject. At the direction of the Board of Governors, we're reviewing the free report on the Penn State situation. We're using that detailed report to do a thorough examination of our university. We're taking the last chapter, which has pages and pages of recommendations, and we're looking at each of those and assigning each one to an individual or to a group to work on to see where Wayne State stands. Quick look, we have many things in place already, but there's much more we can learn. Some things copy, some things invent, some things ignore for other areas that we're in, but plenty of places where we can improve. The risk of not doing is far too great and all too apparent. Now, prior to the free report, we had some projects related to this, we didn't know it, already in play. One is a set of self-administered training modules meant to help all of us be more sensitive to others so that Wayne State can be a more inclusive, welcoming place, both on the positive side and the negative side of things we will not do to each other. The feedback on these has been interesting. I received plenty of support, but also, this surprised me, protest. Most recently, the head of the faculty union objected. Instead of encouraging people to make a small commitment to better understand and avoid sexual harassment, the subject of the first module, he chose to distribute an insulting email on the subject, along with his permission to ignore the training modules. On a much more positive side, I received a very thoughtful letter from a professor in the law school, saying that he thought, and I'm using my words now, this was a fairly simplistic approach, not very nuanced, and I think in many ways he was right. And I'm embarrassed to say that I haven't done a good enough job of figuring out how to answer the points that he included in his letter, but I'll get that done, I hope, in the near future. But I think the best answer I can give at this point is that this training is aimed at all the people of Wayne State, regardless of their level of employment, regardless of their level of sophistication and thoughtfulness in these kinds of subjects. And most of us, as best I can see, are not deeply up to date on sexual harassment. In the Penn State report, there's a description of janitors seeing things that were happening. They knew they were wrong, but they did not report them because of fear of retaliation. And so we want everybody in the university to see these kinds of, to understand these kinds of issues, and to understand what they could do and should do if they see things happening that are wrong for this university and wrong for the people. So there's a lot to do. There'll always be a lot to do. And as important as what we do is how we do it, the culture we choose for Wayne State University. And I spent, at the end of my first Ford career, the better part of 10 years working on culture of Ford Motor Company. And one of the intriguing things, and I find it so true in all organizations, how do you handle multiple objectives concurrently? Because in 1986, I was asked the question, which do you want, good quality or low cost? And the answer was yes. Well, we can't do that. Well, other people can, so why don't you hoist up whatever you need to hoist and get to work? Okay, do you want good performance or good fuel economy? Yes. Well, you can't have that. You want one of those little puddle jumpers with a washing machine engine, or you want a Ferrari. Now, which one are we going to have? Neither, but we can find something in the middle. Okay, which do you want? A nice soft ride like the French have, or go fast around the corners like the Italians? Yes. Well, you can't do that. Yes, you can. We bought Jaguar and found that they knew how to do it. The same thing applies to the things we do here. A multiple of objectives, a multiple of thrusts that we have to balance and we have to make progress on. It's not either or, it's and. And so I've talked and written about some of this before. It's sometimes described as the soft stuff. You know, real people work on real problems, not on happiness or whatever this may be. But you know, it's indispensable if we're going to be as successful as we want to be. Now, I've received some feedback, very few people, that the soft stuff doesn't apply in academia, that academia is by definition a place where criticism is part of the fabric. And I've come to learn that in the last 2 years, especially in my own office. Business is amateurish in compared in criticism, in case you wondered. Where challenging assumptions and attacking positions is the normal part of the intellectual process, necessary to expanding the boundaries of knowledge. I accept that. But how we do makes a difference. So in the spirit of academia, let's continue to challenge, but in a way that motivates, that educates, that opens up the horizons. Let's continue to critique, but in a way that instructs. Let's share our opinions, but in a way that's respectful. Let's build up rather than tear down. Let's not fear or refuse to learn when learning can make us better. We don't know everything in this university that's true or up to date or modern in the world, or historical for that matter. Isn't all of this the nature of higher education? And sometimes the benefit of criticism isn't necessary. Just because we may have done something differently doesn't mean it's wrong. Aristotle said it's the mark of the educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. And sometimes, you know, we can just say, good job, well done, thank you. I've often said, regardless of where I worked, that the phrase thank you is not used often enough, because we appreciate and we should say thank you to people who make the contributions to make this university successful. And there are so many examples around of people doing good work. It's okay to appreciate it. No one will object if you say thank you. Now, we may not all get the budget we want, or build the building we want, or get the grant we want, but we can choose the culture, the kind of place where we want to work. We can choose how we treat each other, whether we collaborate or compete. whether we share or withhold, whether we respect or belittle. And if we choose correctly, we'll have a better chance of success, and the journey will be more enjoyable. Our mission is to be a university of choice, competitive with the best across the board. We can only accomplish this through the constant pursuit of excellence. How can we do that if we don't tap the best in each other? If we don't use our unique perspectives, our unique backgrounds to find a better solution? If we pull together, we may find we can overcome some of those most intractable challenges. If not, we risk succumbing to the relentless drumbeat of negativity that some pass on as legitimate academic culture. Respect, collaboration, service, optimism, these are the values that make up a culture of success. Are they possible here at Wayne State? I certainly think so. We all have a role to play at this university: faculty, students, staff, administration, leaders, all of us. We're both caretakers of a tradition and leaders of an organization. Regardless of our level, we're leading some part of it for a moment in time. Wayne State was here when we arrived. I think it's going to be here when we leave. How will we leave it? Better, I hope. That's why I decided to come here, to see if I could help for a relatively short stint. When you welcome a new president next year, I hope you'll welcome him or her as you welcomed me. I hope you'll demonstrate the enthusiasm and desire for excellence that I've seen for you. I hope you'll continue what we have started, including our efforts to make our university a place where everyone is welcome, respected, and included. And I hope most of all that we hand our new president a university that is better than when we arrived. Thank you very much.